see our hearts, can't he? Right? That's what our verse says. I can't see what's in Jada's heart. She can't see what's in my heart. I can't see what's in anybody's heart. But God can see what's in each of our hearts, right? He knows what's in our heart. He knows whether we're a person that would do what he wants us to do, or if we're a person that does what we want to do. What you got there? Is that a Snickers bar? Oh, it's a Tootsie Roll. Okay. We're going to have a snack afterward. You probably could just wait for that. So, David, the man after God's own heart. Now, how many of you have friends? We all have friends, don't we? We have friends. Now, let's see. Can you tell me if somebody is a good friend, what are they? What does somebody do that is a good friend? What do you think, Corey? Do you have any good friends? Yes. Okay. What are your good friends? You are good friends with them. What's a good friend mean? What's it mean that they're a good friend? Spend a lot of time with them? Yeah. Okay. That's a hard question. What do you think?
They're by your side to support.
They support you by your side? Okay. What do you think?
They never hurt your feelings.
They never hurt your feelings. Okay. Anyone else got an idea about a good friend? The Bible tells us about friends. The Bible tells us that there's a friend, that we have friends that stick closer to us than our brother and sister. Now, you might not yet, but after a while, you probably have some friends that are closer friends to you than your brother and sister. The Bible tells us that a friend will tell us when we're wrong. Would that kind of hurt our feelings if we were told that we're wrong? David? It kind of would. If somebody said, you're wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't like that, would we? No. So friends, if they're a good friend, they won't worry about our feelings, will they? They really more worry about whether we're doing what's right. Right? So if you're going to be a good friend to somebody, if your good friend is doing something wrong, the Bible says we should tell them that they're doing something wrong. We shouldn't say, well, if I tell them that, I'll hurt their feelings. Or if we have a good friend and they tell us that we're doing something wrong, we say, that's right. We shouldn't get upset with them. We should be thankful for those good friends, right? So, David, he was around different kinds of people. Remember David, he killed Goliath and Saul like that and all of that. Do you think Saul was a good friend of David's? No. You remember what Saul wanted to do with David? Well, he wanted to kill him, didn't he? Why did he want to kill him? Why did Saul want to kill David? Why did he want to kill him? Do you know the story? He was jealous. Now, would a good friend be jealous of you? You know, if you and your friend do something and you're able to do something really neat and they didn't get to do it, will they be mad at you because you got to do something and they didn't get to? No, they'll be excited for you. They'll be happy for you. They wouldn't be jealous of you. A good friend doesn't get jealous of someone else. But Saul, he was jealous. David, God blessed David. Why did God bless David? A couple reasons, but let's see what you think. Why did God bless David? God chose David to be the next king. What would be another reason that God blessed David? Can you think of another reason?
That he killed the giant.
Well, that was one of the ways that God blessed him. But what would be a reason? Would it be maybe because God could see his heart? God could see his heart. And God blessed him because he knew that David wanted to do what was right. Sometimes David didn't always do what's right, but in his heart he wanted to. And he confessed his sins when he did. So, God blessed David, and Saul got upset. But Saul had a son. Now, so you guys in front might remember. I don't know if you guys were here, but do you remember when we were talking about Saul fighting the Philistines, and his son went up and just hit his son and his servant, his armor bearer, just the two of them went up and killed a bunch of Philistines, and then there was an earthquake, and then Saul told everybody not to eat. Remember that time when Saul told everybody not to eat? Do you remember remember the name of Saul's son? Or does anybody know the name of Saul's son? No, Samuel was the prophet before Saul. Saul's son's name was Jonathan. Remember Jonathan? Jonathan wasn't like his dad. Jonathan trusted God. Remember when they went to fight the Philistines, they prayed and they said, if God would show us whether or not we should fight these men. And God did show them, and God gave them a victory. And so Jonathan wasn't like his dad. And Jonathan, when he saw that David killed Goliath, and he saw all the battles, and he saw how David gave God the credit for helping him win. Remember, David told the giant, he said, this day the world will know that there's a God in Israel, and God is going to give us the victory today. Well, Jonathan saw that, and he saw David, and he said, I want to be David's friend. I would like to be friends with David. Now, this is a really hard question. How do you think Jonathan and David could be friends? Jonathan was a king's son, and what did David do? He fought some, but what was he? What did he do out in the fields? He watched the sheep, didn't he? He was just a shepherd boy. And Jonathan was a prince. He was the king's son. How do you think those two boys, those young men, could get to be friends? How could they get to be friends? What do you think? They were brave. They were both brave, but how could they start to be friends? What were you going to say? Yeah. What's that? You forgot again. What do you think? They could read the Bible together. Let me ask you, how do you get to be friends with somebody? How do you get to be friends with somebody? You meet them, and what do you do when you meet them? Okay. You're friendly to them, right? If you want to be friends, if you want to have friends, you have to be friendly, don't you? You can't have friends if you're not friendly. You could sit in the corner and say, nobody likes me. I don't have any friends. But will you ever have friends if you don't be friendly to other people? No, you won't be. The Bible teaches us that too. In the Bible it says, if you're going to have friends, you have to show yourself friendly. You have to be friendly. If J-Lo wants to have friends, you're going to have to be friendly to somebody. Okay? And you know what that tells us? That tells us that we can choose what kind of friends we want to have. Right? Should we want to have good friends or bad friends?
Good friends.
So who should we be friendly to? Good people or bad people?
Good people.
Yeah. If somebody that we're kind of, if a bad person is friendly to us, should we be friendly back to them? No. No. If a good person is friendly to us, should we be friendly back to them? Yes. Because it's important who our friends are. Well, Jonathan, he wanted to be friends with David, and David, he was just a shepherd. He couldn't go up to Jonathan and say, hey, let's go do something. So Jonathan had to be friendly to David, didn't he? Jonathan found David and he said, I want to be your friend. I like how you fight and how you trust God, and I trust God. And here, I want you to put this robe on. And he gave David his robe. He was the prince. And he gave David his robe. And then he said, here, take my spear and my sword. He gave to David, and they became friends. And they were very good friends. So, after a little while, David and Jonathan are friends. And you know what friends do. They probably went out and fought, not each other. They fought the enemy together, and they would do things together. And then one day, I don't know, David wasn't around, and King Saul, he knew that he could just tell that David was getting more and more popular, and David was going to be the king someday. And he didn't want David to take his kingdom away from him. He was a selfish, jealous man. The Spirit of God had left him because he disobeyed God. Remember that? And so Saul, he made an announcement to all. He said, everybody listen up. I want David to be killed. And he meant it. And Jonathan was there. Jonathan heard that. And you think Jonathan Jonathan obeyed the king? You think Jonathan obeyed his dad? No. Shouldn't you obey your dad? You should, but what if your dad tells you to sin? Should you obey God or should you obey man? Obey God, that's right. Jonathan, he went and he found David and he said, David, my dad, he says he wants you to be killed. But I want you to just sit tight, hang low, and I'm going to talk to him. And so Jonathan went to his dad and said, Dad, you don't really want to kill David. Don't you remember how he killed Goliath? You were happy when he killed Goliath, and you were happy when he went out and he fought the Philistines for us and got us many victories. And David is an innocent man. He hasn't done anything wrong. There's no reason why he should be killed. And Saul said, you know, Jonathan, you are right. I will take that back. I don't want David to be killed. And so Jonathan, he stuck up. He stood up to his dad. That'd be hard to do, but he was doing what was right. He told his dad what was right. He was respectful, but he said, that shouldn't be. And he stood up for his friend, and he saved David's life, didn't he? He got his dad to change his mind. Well, and so things went. David was able to come back into the palace. And what did David do in the palace? Remember what David did in the palace? He played his harp, right? He played his harp, and then he would lead the men out to battle sometimes and fight battles for Israel. And so everything was kind of back to normal. And one day, David was playing his harp, and the evil spirit came back on Saul, and Saul got angry with David again, and he threw the spear at him. Tried to kill him, and David ducked out of the way, and he ran and he went home to his wife. And when he got home to his wife, he says, Saul is going to kill me. Now the thing about that is his wife was Saul's daughter. And so my guess, he had married Saul's daughter because he fought Goliath. Remember, whoever would fight Goliath and win. So David got to marry Saul's daughter, and Michal was her name, or Michal, I don't know how they said it back then. But she said, and she was upset at that because she didn't want her dad to kill her husband. That was bad, wasn't it? That was a terrible case. And David was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then Michal, she was looking around and she saw two men from the king waiting outside in the street. She knew what those guys were there for. You know what they were there for, don't you? They were going to catch David in the morning when he left. She said, David, you got to leave now. Go out the window, climb out that way and run and hide. And so he did that, and she took a big idol. I don't know why she had an idol in her house, because they're not supposed to serve idols. Maybe they just thought it was a decoration or something, but she took a big idol and she laid it in David's bed. Put a blanket over it. Put some goat hair up by the top. And the next morning when the men came to the door, it said, King Saul said, David, he needs to see David. And Michal, she said, oh, he's sick. He can't come. She kind of told a lie, didn't she? But those men went back to King Saul and said, he's sick, he can't come. And King Saul, he was so angry, he wanted David dead so badly. He said, you go get David and you bring him bed and all. Pick up his bed and bring him here. So the men came back to Michal and said, King Saul said we got to bring him, and even if he can't get out of bed, we got to bring the bed. And so Michal let him in. And what did they do? They went up there and they got to the bed, and there was no David inside that bed. He was saved. He was gone. Now we don't know. He was gone anyway. I don't know. She probably shouldn't have lied that way. God could have taken care of David, couldn't he? But so David went, and then he got away, and after a little while, he got back with Jonathan. Now, he didn't go back to the palace, right? Because that was where Saul was. But he got in touch with Jonathan, and they were talking, and he said, Jonathan, I'm just like one step away from death. Your father's going to kill me. And Jonathan was like, no way. My dad doesn't do anything, big or small, without telling me what he's going to do. He doesn't want to kill you. And what do you think David said? Yeah, right, Jonathan. He knows that we are friends. That's just the reason he hasn't told you that he wants me to be killed. So, Jonathan said, well, what do you want me to do? Now, I gotta find it here. And we're going to read exactly what David said. David said, well, let's try this. And find it here. It's 1 Samuel 20, verse 7. Oops, it's on this page. David said to Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. What he's saying is, at the new moon, at the beginning of the month, there's a special feast, and he was expected to be at the feast. I should not fail to be with the king at meat, but let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the third day at even. And if thy father at all miss me, then say, David asked leave of me that he might run to Bethlehem, a city, for there's a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. If he say thus, it is well, I will have peace. But if he is very angry, then be sure that evil is determined against me. And so that's what they did. It was time for the feast, and they got there to eat. And Saul saw everybody was there except who? David wasn't there. David wasn't in the seat. Jonathan was there. Everybody was there. And Saul didn't say anything. And the next day, second day of the feast, everybody was there, but who wasn't there? David wasn't there. And Saul said to Jonathan, so where is David? Oh, and Jonathan said, well, he asked me if he could run to his hometown, to Bethlehem, his hometown, because they have a yearly sacrifice there. And I thought it would be fine. And he asked if he could miss this time. And Saul got very, very angry. He got really angry. He said, Jonathan, don't you know that David is going to take the kingdom away from you? Did Jonathan care about that? No. He knew David was a good man. He didn't care that David was going to be the king next instead of him. But Saul did, and Saul said, don't you know that? And Jonathan said, why does that matter? David has done nothing wrong. You know what happened? You might know this. You might have heard this. Whoops, I have the wrong picture on. Oh well, but it's the right picture. Because this is David, but Saul took his javelin and he threw it at his own son, Jonathan. He was so angry at David that he wanted to kill anybody that was even David's friend, even his own son, Jonathan. And Jonathan was upset and he was hurt because his dad was not doing what was right and he wanted to kill his good friend David, and he went out. Oh, I forgot to say they made a secret plan on how they would know this, but we'll just show you this anyway. So, Jonathan went out to a field with a boy, and he took some arrows like he was going to shoot on target practice. And he shot 3 arrows. 3 arrows. And he said, okay, go get those for me. And as the boy went, he shot another one, and he said, the arrows are further than you are. Now they had made a secret code. David was sitting behind the rock listening. And they had decided that if Jonathan said, oh, look to the side, that everything would be safe. But if Jonathan said, oh, go further, that things were not good. And when David heard that, Jonathan told the boy to go further. He thought his heart just sunk inside of him. He thought, I'm not ever going to be able to go back there. Saul does want to kill me. Even Jonathan knows it. And so then the boy came back, and Jonathan sent him back to the palace. And David and Jonathan had one last meeting there. They promised that they would be kind to each other, even to their family. Because what did Jonathan know? David was going to be the next king, right? He didn't know what would happen to him, did he? He might live. He might not. But David was going to live because he was going to be the next king. And David and Jonathan promised each other that they would always be kind to one another and that they would be kind to their children. Jonathan promised that he would be kind to David's children. And David promised that he would be kind to Jonathan's children. They had a bond between them, a promise. And they promised that they would always help one another and each other's family. And then Jonathan went back to the palace. And David, what do you think he did? He ran for his life. He ran for his life. He was scared because the king was going to kill him. And even the king almost tried to kill his own son. Now David, we'll talk about this some more. Did he need to be scared? Not really, because what? God said he was going to be the next king. But I mean, if you have a guy throwing javelins at you, that's scary. And David was scared, and David ran for his life. We're going to talk about that some next time. But today, we need to remember, we need to think about a couple things. We need to think about what kind of person we are. Are you friends with somebody? Are you a good friend? Or are you just a in-between friend? If your friend does something wrong, do you tell them you shouldn't have done that? Or you just let them go? Maybe you don't get them to do bad things, but you don't stop them from doing bad things. What kind of friend should you be? What kind of friends do you have? Do you have good friends? Do your friends help you do what is right? If you say, oh, it would be really neat if we did something and it was wrong, would they say, no, we shouldn't do that, that's not right? Okay? It's very important what kind of friends we have, right? Because our friends will influence us to do good or bad. We should want to have the type of friendship that David and Jonathan had, shouldn't we? We should want friends that will help us do what's right, and also that don't care, like Jayla messed up with it on her idea, right? It shouldn't matter whether they hurt our feelings. We don't want people just to be mean. I understand that. But if we did something wrong, they shouldn't care whether our feelings get hurt. They should care that we're doing what's right. Right? So we want to make sure that we're the right kind of friend. All right.